Here's more wrestling news for June 29th, 2021. And your headlines for this afternoon include WWE pre-taped final ThunderDome episode of Raw. Triple H recently asked WWE superstar to return hours after he was released. Samoa Joe absolutely working towards getting back in the ring. Samoa Joe has a new role in WWE behind the scenes. Karrion, Kross, and more NXT superstars backstage at WWE Raw tonight. Former WWE talent blows up Twitter after tweet about her BF. A heated rivalry on Raw with a little less intense outcome. WWE called out for disrespecting Divas title. WWE wrestler hired people to create vignettes when WWE had nothing for her. Is Asuka a jobber now? And more. We're starting with WWE, who will return to live touring starting with the July 16th edition of SmackDown, but the company will be leaving the ThunderDome sooner than expected. It's reported that the July 9th edition of SmackDown will be the final show taped live in the ThunderDome, and that the July 12th edition of Raw will actually be pre-taped a week earlier. WWE's return to live touring has a lot of fans excited, as major names like John Cena, The Fiend, and Becky Lynch are all rumored to return, and whilst Vince McMahon has benefited from being able to pre-tape shows over the past year, they won't have that luxury once live crowds return. On April 15th this year, Samoa Joe was rehired by WWE, a decision that shocked fans who enjoyed the then Raw commentator. Thankfully, Joe was rehired and returned to NXT on the June 15th episode as an on-screen enforcer for NXT General Manager William Regal. Speaking on Ryan Satin's Out of Character podcast, Joe discussed his release and how it didn't take long at all for things to turn around. Joe explained that it was only a few hours after his release that Triple H gave him a call, and the pair were able to work out a deal from there. Now, Joe can be found on NXT each week, though in a non-wrestling role, as he continues to be medically uncleared after a concussion early last year. It's been 505 days since Joe's last match on the February 10th, 2020 edition of Raw, but the former champion hasn't given up hope just yet. In his Out of Character podcast appearance, Joe was asked about whether he is working towards a return to the ring, and the former US champion said he's absolutely working on becoming a superstar once more. Time will tell whether Joe gets to wrestle again, as WWE takes concussions very seriously nowadays, but the Samoan submission machine is working hard to make his plan a reality. Time will tell if Samoa Joe ever wrestles again, but his new role as Regal's enforcer isn't the only new job for the former US champion. In that same interview, Joe explained that now that he's back with WWE, his influence has grown backstage, saying, "Now I'm working in the talent scouting department, working with Canyon Seaman, a few more administrative things here and there behind the scenes, so it's a little bit of a transition for me to some of the other aspects of the business in WWE." Joe also made it clear that he's still a performer in WWE, implying that he still has a superstar contract, but said that Triple H has given him a, quote, really great, cool opportunity. A veteran of wrestling, Joe has an eye for talent, and his connections around the world could prove to be invaluable for WWE when looking for new stars. Joe has had many roles in WWE recently as a superstar, a commentator, and an enforcer, and he can now add Talent Scout for NXT to his impressive resume. Over to Raw now, and for the past few weeks, some NXT superstars have been lurking around WWE's main roster shows, and that continued during last night's Raw. According to PW Insider, NXT champion Karrion Kross, Scarlett, and Shotzi Blackheart were all backstage during last night's show, though they didn't compete on main event. Whilst they didn't have televised matches, it's reported that they did have dark matches before Raw, their latest matches in the ThunderDome. Kross even made his televised main roster debut recently on main event, though with a lackluster entrance that WWE has been trying to take down from social media. This is the latest sign that WWE has something planned for all three, and fans can expect a permanent move to the main roster in time for this August's WWE Draft. Earlier this year, Charlie Caruso, aka Charlie Arnault, left WWE, but fans are still interested in her and her love life. This week, the ESPN correspondent tweeted that she was watching basketball with her boyfriend, who made a comment about the Atlanta Hawks coach. Though Arnold's tweet was meant to poke fun at her boyfriend, saying he sounded like a grandpa with how he spoke, fans were quick to notice that Arnold has a boyfriend and is off the market. Some fans held out hope that BF meant her best friend, but Arnold's comments clearly meant a man, referring to him as a grandpa. Now some fans are lamenting that they never got the chance to win over Charlie, whilst others are trolling them for thinking they ever had a chance with her, and nevertheless, Arnold's tweet was about far more than just basketball. Back to Raw, and Bobby Lashley was a notable absence on this week's show, just 1 week after becoming the first man to wrestle in Hell in a Cell 2 nights in a row. After toppling Drew McIntyre and Xavier Woods, Lashley had a much-earned break this week, and instead of the champ, fans saw a great back-and-forth between Kofi Kingston and MVP. This rivalry is all the more personal when you remember that MVP was seen in tears after Kingston won the WWE title in 2019, but that wasn't mentioned last night. Instead, it's been confirmed that Xavier Woods will be back next week, where he'll face Lashley in a rematch, and we'll have to see how that match factors into the title match at Money in the Bank. Kofi is certainly the right challenger for Lashley, but with the booking of the Almighty and WWE being so close to SummerSlam, don't expect Kofi Mania 2 to run wild on July 18th. From 2008 to 2016, the women of WWE competed over the Divas Championship, a title that hasn't been remembered fondly by fans. Whilst the title's gaudy design is considered one of the worst ever, WWE made a bizarre decision this week when they posted a 2014 Divas title match between Paige and Naomi, but used a butterfly emoji to describe the title rather than its name. Whilst the Divas title may not be remembered fondly, fans were quick to call out WWE for this, saying that there's nothing wrong with using the term when discussing the Divas era. One fan said that it's important for fans nowadays to know how the women's evolution begun, whilst another compared fans from 2014, saying it was wrong to call women divas, to 2021, where fans are saying it's wrong for the 2014 wrestlers to not be called divas. There was plenty of opposing opinions in the comments, but ultimately, WWE has total control over what they put out, and in this case, they didn't want to use the infamous D word in that tweet. Now, as a former SmackDown Women's Champion, Money in the Bank winner, and WrestleMania Battle Royal winner, Carmella has had an impressive career in WWE, but things haven't always been easy for her. It wasn't too long ago that Carmella was spending months at home as WWE had nothing for her, and this week revealed that she took matters into her own hands. Speaking on the Out of Character podcast, Carmella explained that whilst away, she hired people and created vignettes from her home, which she sent to WWE, who absolutely loved her videos. She also explained her current character as being an all-grown-up Princess of Staten Island, but avoided calling herself the Queen, a name reserved for Charlotte Flair. Adding that the vignettes she made were very different to the ones fans saw on TV, Carmella has made an impression since returning and will have the chance to become Miss Money in the Bank at next month's pay-per-view. Asuka will also be in the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match, but we wouldn't put money on the Empress winning. There was a time when Asuka was one of WWE's most protected stars, boasting a 914-day undefeated streak, but those days are long gone. This week, Asuka was used as fodder for Doudrop, and many are even considering the first ever Women's Royal Rumble winner a jobber. Asuka's fall from grace has been heartbreaking to see, as she spent the past year as Raw Women's Champion, but now is seemingly just another superstar conveniently booked to lose. WWE's problem is that they have a lack of women in the lower mid-card, as someone like Lana and Peyton Royce could have taken the loss to Doudrop without being affected, and until things change, the Empress will continue to be wasted as WWE's most colorful and entertaining jobber. And we're ending today with Lex Luger, who will have his very own WWE Icons documentary on the network very soon. The fourth in the WWE Icons series, Luger's documentary will premiere on July 4th, and we're sure that Luger's career, from the WBF to the Lex Express to being WCW World Champion, will make for an interesting watch. Well guys, that's our news for today. Please share your comments below. Also hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to receive all notifications. And as always, thanks for watching.